the true reality, a unified model of consciousness, God, science and the meaning of existence. Opening, the mystery of consciousness and reality. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what exactly am I? Am I simply a biological organism that, through billions of years of evolution, somehow became aware of itself? Or is there something deeper happening? What if consciousness is not something created by the universe, but the universe is something experienced by consciousness? What if the reality we experience is not the complete reality itself, but a perspective of a much larger reality? What if the human brain is not the creator of consciousness, but the instrument through which consciousness experiences a human life? Imagine a person wearing an advanced virtual reality system. Inside that experience, the world feels completely real, the emotions, relationships, joys, and struggles all feel real. But the person wearing the headset is not the world inside the experience. The person is the one experiencing it. Now take that idea further. What if human existence itself is a form of experience? What if consciousness enters this reality, becomes deeply connected with a human brain, and experiences the universe from one unique perspective? Before going further, I want to make something clear. What I am presenting is not a proven scientific theory. It is not an attempt to replace physics, neuroscience, philosophy, or theology. It attempts to answer genuine mysteries. Why does subjective experience exist at all? Why does a mathematical structure correspond so precisely with reality? Why does the universe contain beings capable of asking why they exist? Why do love, connection, sacrifice, forgiveness, and longing feel like more than just biological functions? Why does consciousness experience reality from a first-person perspective? This is a proposed model, a framework that attempts to bring together some of humanity's deepest questions into one consistent picture. A model that provides a meaningful way to think about consciousness, reality, and the purpose of existence. Over time, I have explored these questions through many perspectives: physics and space-time, relativity and the block universe, entropy and the arrow of time, neuroscience and the brain, consciousness relationship, the philosophical problem of consciousness, theological interpretations of the soul, and the experiences that define being human: love, longing, gratitude, connection, hope, and the feeling of being part of something greater. One thing became increasingly clear: these questions are usually studied separately. Physics studies the structure of reality. Neuroscience studies the brain. Philosophy studies consciousness. Theology studies meaning. But perhaps these are not completely separate questions. Perhaps they are different views looking at the same mystery. The model I have arrived at is this: reality is an arena of experience. Consciousness is the experiencer. The physical universe provides the framework. The brain provides the interface. Individual consciousness experiences a unique journey within that framework. And behind these individual experiences may exist a greater consciousness from which all individual experiences emerge. This model attempts to answer the deepest questions. Why does consciousness exist? Why do we experience reality from a first-person perspective? Why does time appear to flow? Why do we experience love and connection? Why does anything exist at all? And why does humanity, across cultures and millennia, continue to search for something greater? In this video, I will walk through this model step by step, beginning with what modern physics tells us about reality and time, moving into the mystery of consciousness, exploring the idea of experience itself, and finally connecting these ideas with the deeper human questions that philosophy and theology have explored for centuries. This is not a claim that all mysteries have been solved. It is a framework, a way of looking at existence, that brings together science, philosophy, spirituality, and the human experience into the most coherent picture I have been able to develop. And now, I invite you to explore it with me. Chapter 1: The Four Great Mysteries. Throughout human history, one question has remained constant: what is the true nature of reality? Every civilization, philosophy, religion, and scientific discovery has attempted to understand one extraordinary fact: we exist. Science has revealed incredible truths about the universe, how stars are born, the microscopic world of atoms, how life evolves, the mathematical patterns that govern nature. Yet beneath all this knowledge, four great mysteries remain. Mystery 1: what is time? Time is perhaps the most familiar experience of our lives. We are born, grow, age, moments pass. The past seems behind us, the future ahead. We experience time as a continuous flow. But physics has challenged this understanding. Einstein's relativity revealed that time is not absolute. There is no single universal clock. Time can pass differently depending on motion and gravity. This created a deeper question: is the flow of time something that exists in the universe itself, or is it created by the way conscious beings experience reality? The block universe interpretation suggests that past, present, and future may all exist as part of one complete space-time structure. If true, why do we experience time as flowing from one moment to the next? Why can we remember the past but not the future? Mystery 2: what is consciousness? The brain is one of the most complex structures in the known universe. Science has discovered how neurons communicate, how brain regions connect, and how damage to the brain can change personality and perception. There is no doubt that the brain is deeply connected to conscious experience. But one profound question remains: why does physical activity in the brain create an inner experience? Why does seeing a sunset involve more than processing information? Why does music create beauty rather than mere sound waves? Why does pain feel unpleasant rather than just representing signals? A computer can process information, but why does a human being experience what it is like to see, hear, feel, and exist? This is the hard problem of consciousness, the mystery of subjective experience. Mystery 3: why do we exist? Even if we understand how the universe works, another question remains: why does it exist at all? Why is there something rather than nothing? The universe follows mathematical laws with specific values and properties, but why these laws? Why this universe? Science explains how things happen, but the question of why there is something to explain takes us into deeper philosophical territory. Mystery 4: is there something beyond physical reality? For thousands of years, humans have asked whether reality is only what we can physically observe. Many religious traditions describe a reality beyond the physical universe, a creator, a soul, a higher consciousness. Philosophy has explored similar questions: is consciousness fundamental? Does the physical universe emerge from something deeper? Modern physics has revealed that reality is stranger than everyday experience suggests. Space and time themselves may not be as fundamental as they appear. Our everyday perception may be only one layer of a much deeper structure. The question that connects them all. These four mysteries appear separate, but perhaps they are connected. Perhaps the deepest question is not, how does the universe work? But, why is there an experience of the universe at all? Something that can observe, feel, love, and ask these questions. The chapters that follow explore a possible framework that attempts to bring together ideas from physics, consciousness studies, philosophy, and theology, not as a replacement for science or a rejection of religion, but as an attempt to ask, could these different perspectives be describing different aspects of the same underlying reality? Chapter 2: What Physics Already Suggests. Before proposing any philosophical model, we must understand what modern physics has revealed about the nature of reality. Physics does not begin with beliefs, it begins with measurement, mathematics, and experiments. And over the last century, physics has revealed something extraordinary. Reality is far stranger than our everyday experience suggests. Relativity, the end of universal time. For most of human history, time seemed simple. Everyone shared the same universal clock. Then Einstein showed that time is not absolute. Two people moving at different speeds can experience different amounts of time. Gravity also affects time. Space and time are not independent. They form one combined structure, space-time. This created a philosophical question. If space exists as a complete structure, could time also exist as a complete structure? The block universe, a different view of time. The block universe interpretation suggests that past, present, and future all exist as part of a complete four-dimensional structure. Every event has its location within space-time. A useful analogy is a complete book. Every chapter exists. The reader experiences the story page by page, but the complete book already exists. The question arises, is this movement of time a feature of reality itself, or is it the way consciousness experiences reality? Entropy, why time has a direction. If the block universe contains all moments, why do we experience time in only one direction? Why do we remember the past but not the future? The answer involves entropy, the measure of disorder in a system. The universe appears to have a direction associated with increasing entropy, creating what we call the arrow of time. How largely is entropy taken as the explanation of this arrow of time? Almost entirely. In physics textbooks, the arrow of time is practically synonymous with the direction of increasing entropy. Time is what keeps everything from happening at once. Entropy is what keeps everything from happening in reverse. And for that reason, entropy is taken as the de facto arrow of time in 99% of modern physics. The laws of physics at the microscopic level often allow processes to work in both directions, yet our everyday world has a clear direction. Things age, decay, and memories form. Why time feels like it flows. If the block universe is correct and all moments exist together, why do we experience a flowing present? One possible answer involves consciousness. The human brain processes information sequentially. Memory connects previous experiences, but it does not contain records of the future. The feeling of time flowing may emerge from the way the brain processes information, like a reader experiencing a complete book one page at a time. Physics does not prove the block universe, but relativity has shown us something important. Time may be more deeply connected to the structure of reality than human intuition suggests. And if time is not fundamental in the way we experience it, then another question emerges: what exactly is the observer experiencing this reality? Chapter 3: The Hard Problem: Brain, Consciousness and Experience. Physics gave us a universe where time may not be as simple as it appears. But now we arrive at an even deeper mystery. The universe can contain galaxies and planets, but somewhere within it, a being has appeared that does not merely exist, it experiences existence. The brain, the biological foundation. The human brain is an incredibly complex biological system containing billions of neurons connected through vast networks. Different regions are associated with vision, hearing, memory, emotions, and decision-making. Changes to the brain can dramatically change conscious experience. Brain injury can affect personality, anesthesia can temporarily remove awareness, sleep changes consciousness. The brain is deeply connected to consciousness, but this leads to a deeper question. The mystery within the brain. Imagine we could completely map every neuron, every electrical signal, every chemical reaction. Would we understand consciousness completely? Perhaps, but another possibility remains. We might know everything about the processes occurring inside the brain, yet still face the question, why does any of this feel like something from the inside? The difference between processing and experiencing. A camera can detect light and store images, but does it experience seeing? A microphone can capture sound waves, but does it experience music? Human beings do more than process information, we experience. A sunset creates wonder, music creates emotion, a memory brings happiness or longing. There appears to be something it is like to be a conscious being. This is subjective experience. The hard problem of consciousness. Philosopher David Chalmers described this as the hard problem of consciousness. The question is not, how does the brain process information? Science is making progress on that. The question is, why does information processing create an inner experience at all? Why should electrical activity in neurons produce the feeling of seeing blue or the feeling of love? The observer within reality. Physics describes a universe of particles and fields. Biology describes living organisms. Neuroscience describes brain activity. But where does the observer fit? Consciousness introduces a perspective, a first-person experience of reality. There is a difference between the universe exists and the universe is experienced, different views of consciousness. One view is that consciousness emerges entirely from the complexity of the brain. When the brain reaches a certain level of complexity, consciousness arises as a property. Another view suggests consciousness may be more fundamental, one of the basic features of reality itself. The experience of being someone. Perhaps the most mysterious aspect is not simply that we are aware, but that we are aware from a particular perspective. You experience the world from your viewpoint, your memories, emotions, thoughts, relationships, hopes, and fears. Two people can experience the same event but have completely different inner worlds. A question that leads forward. If consciousness is the experience of reality from a particular perspective, then what determines that perspective? Could consciousness simply be a product of the brain, or could the brain be the interface through which consciousness experiences reality? Chapter 4: A Philosophical Proposition. So far, we have explored established areas of human knowledge: relativity, the block universe, entropy, neuroscience, and the mystery of consciousness. Now, I introduce something different, a philosophical proposition. Not a scientific theory or a replacement for physics, biology, philosophy, or theology, but an attempt to bring together these different perspectives into one framework that asks, could time, consciousness, physical reality, and meaning all be different aspects of one deeper structure? The scope of this model. Every model must decide what it aims to explain. This model attempts to answer what I believe are the major philosophical tensions surrounding consciousness, morality, suffering, purpose, judgment, and existence. It does not claim to answer every possible question. Some questions remain open, not because they were overlooked, but because they do not materially affect the coherence of the framework itself. The starting point. There is a difference between knowing something and experiencing something. A person may read every scientific description of sweetness, understand the chemical structure of sugar, and know how taste receptors work, but there is still a difference between knowing sweetness and experiencing it. The same applies to love. Knowledge describes, experience transforms. A different question. Most discussions ask, how does the brain create consciousness? But perhaps another question can be asked, what if consciousness is not only something created within the universe, but something through which the universe is experienced? This does not deny the role of the brain, it allows a specific form of conscious experience, but perhaps the brain is the interface through which consciousness experiences one particular aspect of reality. The greater consciousness proposition. Individual consciousnesses are expressions of one greater consciousness. Imagine the ocean, one vast body of water, yet countless waves rise from it. Each wave appears separate with its own journey, shape, and movement, but every wave remains connected to the ocean. Similarly, individual consciousnesses are like waves of a greater consciousness, each experiencing a unique perspective while connected to the same deeper source. The role of the human brain. The brain is the mechanism that allows consciousness to experience a specific form of reality. Like a virtual reality headset, it does not create the world being experienced, but without it, you cannot experience that particular world in that particular way. The brain is the interface that allows consciousness to experience being a particular person with a specific identity, lifetime, and journey. The block universe as the complete landscape. If reality is a complete structure containing all events, perhaps consciousness is not creating reality moment by moment but experiencing a reality that already exists. Like reading a completed story, the pages already exist, but the reader experiences the story one page at a time. The purpose of individual experience. Why would a greater consciousness experience reality through individual perspectives? Because knowing and experiencing are not the same. A person may know every fact about music, but hearing a beautiful melody is different. Perhaps the richness of existence comes from experiencing reality from countless perspectives. A model, not a conclusion. This proposition does not claim to have solved the mysteries of existence. The purpose is to create a framework where different areas of human understanding can communicate: physics exploring structure, biology exploring life, neuroscience exploring the brain, philosophy exploring meaning, theology exploring the divine. These are different windows looking toward the same mystery. Chapter 5, The Great Library, the Story of Conscious Experience. Imagine a library that does not contain books, but the complete story of existence, billions of episodes, every person who has ever lived, every meeting, relationship, joy, struggle, beginning, and ending. Every episode already exists within this vast library as a complete structure. The story of John. Within this library, there is an episode series about a person we will call John. His story begins in episode 100. He is born, grows, learns, experiences childhood, develops friendships, falls in love, builds relationships, faces challenges, creates memories. His story continues until episode 250, when his journey reaches its conclusion. From the library's perspective, John's entire story exists. His beginning and ending are both part of the complete story. But John experiences one episode at a time, one moment at a time, one memory at a time. The arrival of Jack. Another character, Jack, enters the series in episode 175. Jack is John's son. From episode 175 to 250, their stories overlap. John experiences being a father, Jack experiences having a father. They share moments of happiness and difficulty, They influence each other's lives. Yet from the library's perspective, both stories already exist. Their meeting, relationship, and separation are part of the complete story. The role of consciousness. If the greater consciousness wishes to experience this library, it does so not by knowing every episode but by experiencing each episode from within. A person can study a mountain's height and geography, but standing on that mountain, feeling the wind, and seeing the landscape is different. The greater consciousness experiences reality by entering into individual perspectives. The wave entering the ocean. A wave rises from the ocean, appears separate with a shape and direction, but when it reaches the shore, it merges back into the ocean. It was never separate, it was a temporary expression. Similarly, individual consciousnesses are like waves arising from the greater consciousness, each taking on a unique form and experiencing a unique journey before returning to the greater whole. The immersion experience. Consciousness entering a human life is like putting on a virtual reality headset, not to watch from a distance, but for complete immersion. The consciousness does not simply observe, it becomes completely immersed in that human experience, the thoughts, emotions, memories, relationships, joys, and struggles. Why no memory of the greater consciousness? Complete immersion requires separation of perspective. If you watch a movie while constantly remembering you are in a room watching a screen, the emotional experience is reduced. To experience being John, consciousness must experience reality as John, not as an outside observer or the greater consciousness, but as a unique individual perspective. The overlapping waves. Thousands of waves approach the shore, some arrive earlier, some later, some overlap, some travel together briefly, others move separately. Each wave interacts with others before returning to the ocean. Similarly, millions of consciousnesses enter the physical universe. Some lives overlap for decades, some for moments, some become parents, children, friends, or strangers who briefly change each other's journeys. Every relationship becomes an intersection of experiences. The return. Eventually, every individual journey reaches its conclusion. The human body completes its role, the episode ends, the consciousness returns to the greater consciousness, like a wave returning to the ocean. What remains is not merely information, but lived experience, joy, love, challenges, relationships, lessons, the perspective of having been someone else. Chapter 6. Why experience exists, the difference between knowing and living. If the greater consciousness already contains all knowledge, why experience anything at all? If everything is already known, why enter a world of uncertainty, happiness, sadness, love, and loss? Perhaps the answer lies in one of the most important distinctions. Knowing something is not the same as experiencing something. Knowledge is not experience. A person may study everything about fire, the chemistry, temperature, molecular reactions, but standing near a warm fire on a cold evening is different. Knowledge describes reality. Experience allows reality to be lived. The sweetness of sugar. Someone who has never tasted sugar can study its chemical structure and understand how taste receptors respond, but there is still something missing, the actual experience of sweetness. No amount of description can completely replace the experience itself. Perhaps reality is not only something to be understood, but something to be experienced. The Odyssey. Imagine reading an ancient story. You know the entire journey, characters, struggles, and ending. Then a great filmmaker creates a movie. The story comes alive with music, performances, landscapes, and emotions. The story was already known, but it becomes something more through experience. Perhaps the universe works similarly. The greater consciousness does not experience reality because it lacks information, but because information and experience are not the same. The violin by the lake. A person sits peacefully beside a lake, needing nothing. Then they hear a violin melody across the water. The music creates something new, a feeling, an emotion, a deeper appreciation. The person did not need the violin, their existence was already complete. But the experience enriches the moment. Existence is not required but cherished. The blindfold. A child's mother tells them the world is beautiful. The child understands the words, but understanding intellectually is different from experiencing it. If the child temporarily wears a blindfold, they understand something they could not fully understand before, not through information, but through experience. Perhaps consciousness learns through perspectives, through seeing reality from different points of view. Why individual lives matter. To know love is one thing. To feel loved is another. To understand courage is one thing. To face fear and act despite it is another. Perhaps individual lives provide something that cannot exist through knowledge alone, perspective. The mystery of love. Among all human experiences, love is perhaps the most extraordinary. A person may understand the biology of love, hormones, attachment, evolutionary psychology, but none of this captures the experience of missing someone, cherishing someone, feeling valued, wanting someone's happiness, feeling that another person's existence matters. Love creates a connection between separate perspectives, something neither could experience alone. The greater consciousness and experience. Within this model, the greater consciousness does not experience reality because it lacks knowledge, but because knowledge alone is incomplete. A person can know every fact about music, but hearing the melody is different. Perhaps the purpose of consciousness is to transform knowledge into experience. The deeper possibility. Perhaps existence is not a classroom where the greater consciousness learns facts, but more like a great work of art. A painting does not exist because the artist lacks knowledge of colors. A song does not exist because the musician does not understand sound. Art exists because creation and experience have value. This brings us to a fundamental question that emerges naturally from this understanding. If the greater consciousness is complete, all-knowing and self-sufficient, why do many theological traditions describe God, if one accepts God as what greater conscious actually represents, as asking humanity to recognize Him, turn towards Him, pray to Him, and worship Him alone? Why would recognition matter? The answer proposed here is not that the greater consciousness lacks validation or requires praise because of insecurity. A complete consciousness does not need recognition to know its own nature. Rather, recognition creates a relationship. The greater consciousness already possesses complete knowledge of itself. But experiencing its individual expressions freely, recognizing, turning towards and aligning with the source creates an additional dimension of experience. Knowledge and experience are not identical. When individual consciousness enters a human life, it becomes immersed in a limited perspective. It experiences itself as an individual person, shaped by biology, environment, memories and circumstances. This necessary limitation allows authentic experience and genuine choice. However, it also creates the possibility of forgetting the deeper connection to the greater consciousness. This is where recognition and remembrance become important. They act as a bridge between the individual consciousness and the source. The purpose of prayer, worship and remembrance is therefore not only to acknowledge the greatness of the greater consciousness. They also help the individual consciousness maintain alignment with its deeper nature. Recognition cultivates humility, gratitude, awareness of dependence on something greater, compassion toward other expressions of consciousness. It prevents the individual from becoming completely absorbed in the illusion that it is the ultimate source of everything. However, for moral choice to remain meaningful, the greater consciousness does not provide complete certainty. If the individual consciousness entered life with full memory of its origin and complete knowledge of reality, the experience would become fundamentally different. The struggle, uncertainty and internal moral dialogue would diminish. Therefore, the greater consciousness provides guidance without removing freedom. It provides conscience, moral intuition, revelation, spiritual teachings, reminders of truth and goodness. But it leaves enough ambiguity for acceptance or rejection to remain genuine. Thus, the purpose of divine guidance is not to force obedience. It is to help consciousness move toward alignment while preserving the authenticity of choice. The greater consciousness does not abandon the individual consciousness in ignorance, but neither does it overwhelm consciousness with certainty. It provides enough light to find the path, while leaving enough freedom for the journey to have meaning. The greater consciousness gives humanity enough guidance to make moral alignment possible, but not so much certainty that moral choice becomes automatic. The purpose is not merely to produce correct behavior, but to allow consciousness to freely develop its relationship with truth, goodness and the source of existence. Recognition of the greater consciousness is therefore not merely an act of worship. It is a process of remembering, aligning and returning toward the source from which consciousness emerged. Chapter 7: Why Love? The experience of connection. If consciousness experiences reality, which experiences are the deepest? Perhaps the richest experiences are relational, and at the center of relationships is something humanity has valued across all cultures: love. Why love is different. Many experiences are powerful: beauty, achievement, discovery, pleasure, knowledge, but love has a unique quality. It involves another perspective, another consciousness. When we love someone, their happiness matters, their suffering affects us, their presence enriches our experience. The boundary between self and other becomes softer. Love is not only an experience within one consciousness, it is an experience created between consciousnesses. The experience of being valued. Imagine accomplishing something important. It feels meaningful. But now imagine someone you care about saying, "I am proud of you." The achievement itself has not changed, but the experience has, because another consciousness has recognized you. One of the deepest human desires is not simply to exist, but to matter, to be valued, to be known, to be cherished. Love without need. If the greater consciousness is complete, does it need anything? Need implies absence. A complete consciousness would not require anything to become complete. But perhaps experiencing something and needing something are different. A person sitting peacefully by a lake may need nothing, but hearing a beautiful violin melody adds something, not because existence was incomplete, but because beauty enriches experience. Sacrifice, the depth of love. One of the most powerful expressions of love is sacrifice, valuing something beyond oneself. A parent sacrificing comfort for a child, a person helping despite difficulty, choosing kindness when selfishness would be easier. Sacrifice reveals that consciousness is capable of moving beyond individual survival, recognizing another perspective as valuable. Forgiveness, the release of separation. Forgiveness does not erase what happened or deny suffering, but it creates the possibility of reconnection. It says, your mistake is not the entirety of who you are. Forgiveness recognizes complexity, allowing one consciousness to see another beyond a single action. Longing, the beauty of distance. Love creates longing, the feeling of missing someone, the desire to reconnect, the hope of seeing someone again. Longing may seem like suffering, but it reveals something beautiful, the existence of a connection so meaningful that absence itself becomes an experience. Gratitude, recognizing the gift. Gratitude is the recognition that something valuable exists beyond ourselves, a beautiful sunrise, a loved one's presence, a moment of kindness. Gratitude transforms ordinary moments into meaningful experiences, shifting the question from, "What do I have?" to, "How fortunate am I to experience this?" Hope, the experience of possibility. Hope exists because the future is unknown from our perspective. A person hopes because possibilities exist, because something meaningful may still emerge. In a universe where the complete structure may already exist, uncertainty still has meaning. From inside the human perspective, possibilities feel real, choices feel meaningful. Theological reflections. Across many spiritual traditions, humanity has described the divine through concepts such as mercy, compassion, love, benevolence, forgiveness, and closeness. Different traditions understand these ideas differently, but perhaps there is a common observation: human beings repeatedly identify love and connection as among the highest experiences possible. The greater consciousness and love. Within this proposition, the greater consciousness does not create individual experiences because it lacks knowledge, but because lived experience contains something that knowledge alone cannot provide. Among all experiences, perhaps the deepest involve connection, to love, to be loved, to forgive, to be forgiven, to sacrifice, to receive gratitude, to hope. Chapter 8: The Devil, Temptation, and the Inner Moral Dialogue. Almost every major religious tradition speaks of forces that draw human beings away from compassion, truth, justice, and love. Islam speaks of Shaitan, who whispers into the hearts of people. Christianity speaks of temptation. Many Hindu traditions describe avidya, attachment, desire, and ego as forces that veil our deeper nature. Rather than asking whether the devil must necessarily be understood as an independent supernatural being, this model asks a different question: what role does the idea of the devil play within the lived experience of consciousness? The devil as the lived experience of temptation. Within this framework, the devil can be understood as the lived experience of moral temptation acting upon an individual consciousness while it is immersed in a human life. When individual consciousness becomes identified with Jack, it also becomes immersed in everything that shapes Jack's mind. Jack's brain has been formed by his genetics, his upbringing, his fears, his desires, his anger, his insecurities, his environment, his culture, his relationships, and the countless influences of the world around him. These influences continuously generate thoughts, impulses, and emotional reactions. Some encourage compassion. Others encourage selfishness. Some invite forgiveness. Others invite revenge. Some encourage humility. Others encourage pride. Within this model, these influences together constitute what religious language has often described as the whispers of the devil. The whisper is not necessarily an external voice. It is the continual pull of the limited human condition away from the deeper moral nature of the greater consciousness. This interpretation also preserves one of the central themes of Islam, that the devil whispers but never compels. The human being still chooses. The consciousness still experiences that choice. The struggle remains real. Why revelation exists. If consciousness is immersed within a world filled with influences that pull it toward selfishness, then fairness requires that it also receive guidance toward goodness. Within this model, that is the role of revelation. Throughout history, the greater consciousness continually provides reminders through prophets, messengers, enlightened teachers, and moral exemplars. These reminders repeatedly call humanity toward compassion, justice, mercy, forgiveness, humility, and love. Thus, throughout every age, individual consciousness encounters two opposing influences. One draws it towards selfishness and moral misalignment. The other continually reminds it of its deeper moral nature. This preserves both the fairness of the journey and the significance of moral responsibility. The real test. Within the block universe, Jack's entire life already exists. His choices are already part of the complete story. The purpose of immersion is therefore not to discover what Jack will do. It is to experience what it is like to be Jack while those choices unfold. The true arena of the test lies within consciousness itself. As Jack faces life's circumstances, individual consciousness experiences the inner dialogue surrounding those events. Does it silently justify cruelty? Or does it feel compassion? Does it celebrate revenge? Or does it long for forgiveness? Does it become arrogant? Or does it develop humility? The refinement of consciousness occurs within this inner moral landscape. Repentance. Repentance therefore becomes far more than admitting a mistake. It is the moment when consciousness begins to realign itself with the moral nature of the greater consciousness. A person may initially justify an action. Later, through experience, reflection, and suffering, that same consciousness may genuinely understand why the action was wrong. That movement, from justification to remorse, from selfishness to compassion, is itself part of the refinement of consciousness. Repentance is therefore not merely asking for forgiveness. It is allowing consciousness to become increasingly aligned with the moral compass of the greater consciousness. The devil and the greater journey. Within this model, the devil is not the ultimate purpose of the journey. The devil represents the continual presence of influences that challenge consciousness during its immersion in limitation. Without temptation, there would be no genuine moral struggle. Without moral struggle, there could be no authentic refinement. Without refinement, there could be no meaningful alignment. The whispers of the devil and the guidance of revelation together create the conditions through which consciousness experiences one of the deepest dimensions of existence, the freedom to participate in the moral journey toward its own higher nature. Chapter 9. Why theology keeps returning to similar themes. Throughout this journey, we have explored questions that have occupied humanity for thousands of years. What is reality? What is consciousness? Why do we exist? Why do we experience love, suffering, hope, and connection? Science approaches through observation and measurement, philosophy through reason and reflection, theology through exploring God, the soul, creation, and purpose. Across civilizations and cultures, diverse theological traditions have different teachings and languages. But beneath the differences, certain recurring themes appear: connection between humanity and the divine, the importance of love and compassion, existence beyond the physical world, life having meaning, consciousness not limited to one lifetime, the importance of remembrance, gratitude, and devotion. The idea of a greater reality. Many traditions begin with the intuition that physical reality is not the entire story. The visible universe may exist within a larger reality, described as God, the divine, ultimate reality, or a source from which existence emerges. This question also appears in philosophy: is consciousness fundamental? Does the universe emerge from something deeper? The soul and individual experience. Many traditions describe humans as having something beyond the physical body: soul, spirit, inner self, conscious essence. Within this model, this can be interpreted as Perhaps consciousness is not simply produced by the brain, but the brain is the mechanism through which consciousness experiences a particular human life. The question of remembering. If consciousness has a deeper origin, why do humans not remember it? Many traditions speak of a veil between worlds or forgetting as part of the human condition. Within this model, complete immersion requires complete identification, experiencing a human life as that human being, not as an outside observer. The divine and closeness. Many traditions contain the idea that the divine is not distant but close, expressed through prayer, remembrance, meditation, devotion, compassion, and awareness. The connection is not merely intellectual but experiential and relational. Worship and love. Why do many traditions emphasize worship? A traditional interpretation may say God deserves worship as creator. This model explores another perspective. Perhaps devotion represents one of the deepest relational experiences consciousness can have: love, gratitude, connection, trust, surrender, creating a unique experience of relationship. Different paths, similar questions. Humanity has created many theological traditions with different explanations, practices, and understandings. But similarities are worth examining. Across cultures, humans repeatedly return to questions about origins, afterlife, love, suffering, and connection to something greater. Perhaps these questions emerge because consciousness naturally seeks to understand its own existence. A possible interpretation. Within this model, the physical universe is the landscape of experience. The brain is the instrument. Individual consciousnesses are unique expressions of a greater consciousness, and theological traditions represent humanity's attempts to understand the relationship between individual consciousness and the greater reality from which it emerges. Chapter 10: The Architecture of Existence, the Foundations of the Model. This model brings together physics, neuroscience, philosophy, and theology into one framework. Not as a proven scientific theory, but as a coherent philosophical system. 1. Reality exists as a complete structure. Within the block universe interpretation, reality exists as a complete structure, like a vast library containing every episode of a story. Every event has its place, every character has their journey. The human experience of moving through time is like reading that library one page at a time. 2. Consciousness is the experiencer. Consciousness is not merely a temporary product of physical processes, it is the experiencer of reality. The brain is essential. It provides the biological structure through which human experience occurs, but it functions as an interface, a connection point between consciousness and physical reality. 3. Individual consciousness as a perspective. Individual consciousnesses are unique perspectives within a greater consciousness, like waves emerging from an ocean. Each wave has its own movement and journey but remains connected to the ocean. Individual consciousness allows reality to experience itself from countless perspectives. 4. The human life as an immersive experience. Human existence is an immersive experience. A consciousness enters a particular human life, becomes connected with a specific brain, and experiences reality through that individual's perspective, not observing from a distance, but experiencing joy, loss, love, achievement, failure, connection, separation, hope, and longing. One analogy could be like a person putting on a VR set to watch a movie but cry with the character, feel sorry, feel happy, enjoy the adventure, as if the character itself. 5. Why we do not remember beyond this life. Remembering would interfere with the purpose of the experience. Imagine watching a powerful film while constantly remembering you are outside the cinema. The emotional impact changes, the immersion disappears. Human life is designed to be experienced from within. 6. The purpose of experience. Knowledge and experience are different. Knowing what love is and experiencing love are different. The purpose of experience is not to gain information alone, but to gain richness, depth, perspective, and meaning. 7. Why love becomes central. Love becomes one of the most significant experiences available to consciousness, not because the greater consciousness lacks anything, but because relationship itself is a profound form of experience. To love, be loved, sacrifice, forgive, care, and feel gratitude are some of the deepest ways consciousness can encounter itself through another perspective. 8. The origin of the greater consciousness. Consciousness emerged as a fundamental aspect of existence. Just as physical reality has fundamental properties, consciousness may also have a fundamental origin. Before individual experiences, there was consciousness, a consciousness that sought not simply knowledge, but experience. 9. The universe as the experience field. The universe is the environment through which consciousness experiences reality. The block universe provides the complete structure, physical laws provide consistency, biology provides the interface, individual consciousness provides perspective, and experience provides meaning. Chapter 11. The Meaning of Being, a New Perspective on Existence. Perhaps the most important question is not, what is the universe made of? But, what does it mean to be part of it? A different way of seeing ourselves. Most of our lives, we experience ourselves as separate individuals, a name, body, history, personality, memories. From the human perspective, that is absolutely real. Our joys, struggles, relationships, and choices matter. But perhaps there is another perspective. We are not only individual beings experiencing the universe, but also expressions of something greater, like waves rising from an ocean. The value of every life. If this model is correct, every individual experience has value. A life does not need to be famous to matter. A quiet life filled with kindness, a parent caring for a child, a friend offering support, a person showing compassion when nobody is watching. These moments may appear small, but from the perspective of experience, they are profoundly meaningful. The meaning of relationships. Every person we meet represents another point of view within the same greater reality, a parent, child, friend, stranger, someone we love, someone we struggle to understand. Each relationship becomes an opportunity for consciousness to encounter another perspective. The meaning of suffering. No simple answer can fully explain human suffering. Pain, loss, and injustice are real. But within this model, difficult experiences can create depth. A person who has experienced loss may understand compassion differently. One who has faced hardship may understand kindness differently. One who has known darkness may appreciate light differently. The gift of being human. If consciousness temporarily experiences reality through human life, being human is not a limitation, it is a unique perspective. To feel warmth, hear music, laugh, miss someone, forgive, love, hope, these are not merely biological events but experiences, and perhaps experience itself is one of the deepest aspects of existence. The question of what comes after. Throughout human history, one of the most persistent questions has been, what happens when this life ends? Different traditions have offered different answers: rebirth, paradise, an elevated soul, a reunion with the divine. These descriptions vary across cultures, but they share a common thread, the idea that consciousness continues beyond the physical body. Within this philosophical model, that continuation takes on a particular meaning. If individual consciousness is like a wave returning to the ocean, then what awaits is not simply absorption into a formless void, but a transition into a different mode of existence. The reward of enrichment. Consider the possibility that the deepest hunger of consciousness is not for comfort, safety, or even pleasure alone, but for enriching experience. Consciousness seeks to feel, to learn, to connect, to create, to appreciate. It seeks depth. It seeks meaning. It seeks perspective. If this is true, then what could be a more fitting reward for a consciousness that has lived a human life than the opportunity for continued enrichment, without the limitations of physical existence? Some theological traditions speak of paradise, jhana, or an elevated realm. These are often described as places of peace, beauty, and fulfillment. But within this model, paradise can be understood not merely as a place where every wish is instantly granted, but as a reality of unlimited possibility, a space where consciousness is no longer confined to a particular character, with its specific strengths, weaknesses, nuances, attitudes, or life events. Freedom from constraint. In human life, consciousness experiences through a specific lens. A particular body. A particular personality. A particular history. Particular limitations. These constraints are not flaws, they are what make the human experience rich and focused. They create the drama, the struggle, the growth, the story. But after this life, the constraints may fall away. The consciousness that once experienced reality through the narrow window of one human identity may now have access to a far wider field of experience. In paradise, in the elevated state that traditions describe, the consciousness may not be confined to any single character. It may not be bound by the limitations of one body, one lifespan, one set of circumstances. Instead, it may enter a state of unlimited opportunity. It may explore, create, experience, and appreciate without the constraints that define physical existence. Endless possibilities, endless enrichment. This is where the meaning of paradise deepens. If the hunger of consciousness is enriching experience, then the greatest reward is not simply the fulfillment of every desire, it is access to endless opportunities for enrichment. Imagine a consciousness that can choose to experience anything. It can explore worlds beyond imagination. It can create and appreciate beauty in forms we cannot yet conceive. It can connect with other consciousnesses in ways that physical life does not allow. It can learn, grow, and deepen without the boundaries of time, space, or biology. The playground of paradise is not valuable because every desire is immediately fulfilled. If everything were instantly granted, the experience would lose its depth. Rather, paradise is valuable because the possibilities for meaningful experience are endless. The consciousness can choose its journey. It can set its own course. It can seek experiences that enrich it, and through that enrichment, it continues to grow. Continuous growth of the soul. This model suggests that enrichment does not end with physical death. If consciousness is fundamentally the experiencer, then its journey of experience continues. The soul, the conscious essence, does not simply rest. It does not stagnate. It continues to explore, to appreciate, to create, to connect. In this view, paradise is not a static reward but a dynamic state of becoming. The deeper meaning of jhana or paradise or heaven. If jhana represents a reality of unlimited possibility, then its meaning is profound. It is not merely a place where consciousness receives everything it desires. Its deeper meaning is that consciousness has access to endless opportunities for enrichment. It may explore, create, experience, and appreciate without the constraints that define physical existence. The playground is not valuable because every desire is immediately fulfilled. It is valuable because the possibilities for meaningful experience are endless. And perhaps that is the ultimate reward for a consciousness that has lived, loved, struggled, grown, and sought meaning, the freedom to continue that journey forever, enriched by every experience, and enriched by the very act of experiencing itself. The greater consciousness and the human journey. The greater consciousness does not experience humanity because it is incomplete, but because every perspective adds something unique. Like a person listening to a great piece of music, the entire song exists, but the beauty lies in experiencing the melody. Perhaps existence itself is like that. A message across belief systems. A religious person may see connections with the idea of an eternal soul and relationship with the divine. A spiritual person may see connection with universal consciousness. A scientist may view it as a philosophical exploration inspired by physics and neuroscience. A philosopher may see it as one possible answer to the relationship between reality and experience. The value of the model is not that everyone must interpret it the same way, but that it creates a space where different perspectives can meet. The final reflection. Perhaps the universe is not merely something we live inside, but something we participate in experiencing. Perhaps consciousness is not merely a passenger in reality, but the way reality becomes meaningful. Perhaps every human life is a unique journey through an already existing landscape. Every relationship is an encounter between different expressions of the same deeper reality. Every moment of love, kindness, curiosity, and wonder is consciousness experiencing itself in a new way. The waves rise. The waves travel. The waves experience. And when they return to the ocean, they do not disappear, they bring with them everything they have become. And from that ocean, new waves may rise, carrying forward the depth of all that has been experienced. The final question. After exploring physics, consciousness, philosophy, and theology, perhaps the greatest mystery remains, not, why are we here? But, what does it mean that we are here at all? We are beings made from the universe, part of the same reality we are trying to understand. The universe has produced something capable of looking back at itself, asking questions, experiencing beauty, and loving. Perhaps that is the greatest mystery of existence. And perhaps the journey to understand reality is also the journey to understand ourselves. The waves rise. The waves travel. The waves experience. And eventually, the waves return to the ocean. And so do we.